Thanks for tuning in to Red Belt Radio. The following episode is scheduled for one fall. I'm Jason, and this show is dedicated to World Wonder Ring Stardom. Today I'm covering the Stardom wrestlers who are most likely to break off from the company this year, and why, as well as a couple of honorable mentions. Mina Shirakawa's final farewell and voyage to AEW is underway, but it's starting to look like she won't be the only departure from Stardom over the next couple of months. This is obviously not a cheerful subject, and my preference is that everyone either stays in Stardom for eternity or, chooses to do what makes them happiest. I'm just trying to say that I'm not hoping for anyone to leave, and I'm also not jumping for joy right now. Let's go over our current major flight risks in Stardom. If you find these transmissions valuable, please give this a like, subscribe to the channel, or leave a comment to let me know what you think. These wrestlers will be discussed in no particular order. The first of our honorable mentions is Saki Kashima of God's Eye. This June will mark 13 years since Kashima's wrestling debut, and over the past few years, she has been plagued with injuries, unfortunately. Saki is currently out of action due to an injury, and the same can be said for April of last year and at least one point in time during 2023 as well. I'm not sure what else Saki wants to accomplish in Stardom or what the bookers have left to do for her. And since at least December of 2022, Saki has at least one option she can fall back on: working as a caregiver for patients with dementia. On top of that, God's Eye currently has 7 members and can still function after the loss of one wrestler. Saki Kashima is one of the funniest and most clever wrestlers Stardom has. Not only that, but her character consistency is remarkable. Whenever God's Eye are fighting the H.A.T.E faction, Saki will take the match deadly seriously and try her heart out because of what that faction represents as her enemy. It's very great storytelling on her part. Like everyone featured today, I certainly don't wish for Saki to leave Stardom anytime soon. But that being said, she should at least be getting a mention here. The next honorable mention will seem a bit strange. It's Suzu Suzuki, formerly of Neo Genesis. Suzu has been involved in a recent major faction betrayal. And while she seems destined to battle former friend Mei Seira, what happens after that isn't totally clear. Some wonder if Suzu will start her own faction. But I want to throw in the possibility that Suzu returns to her freelancer ways, merely stopping by to terrorize Stardom during their major shows or major tournaments. Already, it feels slightly strange that Suzu would turn on her own faction less than 1 year after joining it. And honestly, much of Suzu's Stardom career has been strange. It has played out as though her biggest fan all along was actually Rossy Ogawa. And as his decisions were presumably getting overruled by Bushiroad, Suzu's 2022 and 2023 super push came to a skidding halt. I don't think there is a really strong chance of this, but Suzu might be interested in finding either more chances to fight in death matches and other extreme settings, or a more consistent booking arrangement that doesn't pull the rug out from under her or go this way and that. And now we get to our main selection of wrestlers, starting with Thekla of H.A.T.E. In a recent interview with PWI, Thekla said the following: "I can tell that lately I've been getting booked a little less by Stardom, especially now that I've dropped the belt together with Momo. But to me, that's fine because I've got my sights on the States anyway. I've been slapping girls around in Japan for the last 5 years. I'm really ready to raise some hell in the States right now." The link to this article can be found in the description below. One of the main things to take note of is the current time frame we find ourselves in. Thekla made her big return to Stardom at All-Star Grand Queendom 2024. If she signed a 1-year contract right around that time, then obviously her contract would be up around the end of this month near Grand Queendom 2025. The current Thekla storyline is reaching its heightened finale. Thekla keeps breaking the rules, angering President Okada and getting closer to facing the last of her former friends in DDM. That being, of course, Maika. Thekla also isn't part of the Stardom meet and greets in Las Vegas this year, which could be for a few reasons, but specifically could be that Stardom doesn't feel obligated to promote someone or buy a WrestleCon booth spot for someone who is imminently leaving them. With the interview, contract timing, and storyline all pointing to the door, Thekla remains a likely candidate for upcoming Stardom departures. Next, we must revisit the icon of Stardom, Mayu Iwatani. There is some suspicion that Mayu Iwatani's contract will expire in May, which is about 1 year after the release of her film Runaway Wrestler. Mayu officially retired from the 5-star GP last year, and the faction focus within Stars has been directed at almost every wrestler but Mayu. If she loses her IWGP title to Shuri on April 27th, we will have even more reason to believe that she's going. I think Mayu's most beneficial option is to go freelance. That way, she can occasionally wrestle in Marigold, occasionally wrestle in Stardom, and then also go wherever else she likes. Our last two wrestlers are very obvious ones, but we still need to talk about them. Tam Nakano of Cosmic Angels is in a very curious position right now. Many of the storylines that I mentioned were previously unfinished for Tam have seen developments. She has now wrestled Saori Ano. She has now said her goodbyes to Mina Shirakawa after one last fight and a Cosmic Angels reunion. She is now also going to be teaming up with Starlight Kid in the near future, among other things. While I initially thought it would be weird for Tam to retire purely due to a storyline, and along with the oddness of missing out on a retirement tour and all of those things, it really depends on how many other people will be leaving Stardom at around the same time. If we end up with 2 or 3 other departures right after Mina Shirakawa's exit, then no, we don't necessarily want to have simultaneous or back-to-back retirement tours and farewell shows going on. They risk slowing too much of Stardom's schedule down or making too many of the fans sad. It's possible that Tam would like to go out in a way that is completely unique to everyone else, and that of course would be losing to Saya Kamitani on April 27th in their Loser Must Retire main event match. On the other hand, there is a chance that it will be Saya Kamitani and not Tam Nakano who loses this very match and ends up retiring. Most people have this pegged as unlikely, and I can see why. But Saya Kamitani is someone who has been dealing with multiple injuries since 2023. She is the person who had to change her wrestling style and moveset significantly due to these injuries. She is the person with currently just 1 red belt title defense, when at this point last year, Maika had completed 3. She is the person not coming to America despite being Stardom's red belt champion. She is the person that just randomly put Azumi over at a house show. I know some people can't quite see it, but who would Saya want to have retire her more than the person who brought her into wrestling in the first place? Who, of all people, would be okay with not having a retirement tour, not having a farewell show, and not having all of the pageantry that typically surrounds a departure? More so than Tam, the at times shy, selfless Saya could very well be interested in foregoing all of those formalities. And zooming out a bit, the gigantic H.A.T.E roster would not be crippled by this turn of events. The Saya and Tam match is by no means a closed discussion. We will be revisiting that in the near future. But don't discount the possibility that either of these wrestlers could be on their way out. Who do you think is the biggest flight risk in Stardom? What clues have you discovered over the past few weeks? And what results are you most nervous about for this year's All-Star Grand Queendom? If you found this transmission valuable, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, or leave a comment to let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to Red Belt Radio.